Joining is the Chairman of the Standing Committee of Parliament on Commerce, Mr. Vijayasai Reddy. Sir, welcome to Sansad TV and thank you so much for joining us. Today, your committee has presented very important reports to Chairman of Rajya Sabha. Take us through the key highlights.
3 reports have been submitted to the Chairman of Rajya Sabha. One is One District, One Product, which is now the name of which is changed to District as Export Hubs, that is DEHS. And initially, Invest India is the body which was looking after this ODOP, and now it has been entrusted to DGFT also. And DGFT and Invest India together will be implementing this one district, one product scheme. And so far, this remains as a scheme, and it is yet to be implemented. And the proposals have been sent to the Ministry of Finance, and their Ministry of Finance is yet to make allocation. And in this backdrop, the Commerce Committee has gone into the details and made appropriate recommendations in this regard. Some of the problems that are being faced in this regard by various people have been highlighted, and we have summoned various officials. And particularly the problems which we have identified is lack of financial literacy and awareness. And secondly, the hindrance in digital and e-commerce linkages. And entire country is not linked with the e-commerce, because for digital e-commerce linkage, internet connectivity is very much required. 400 million people located in the rural areas have no access to the internet. So that has also been highlighted. And challenges faced by MSMEs. Because there are so many regulations in the country where, for example, if more than 100 people are employed, the rules will be different. So therefore, what the entrepreneurs are doing, the minute they cross the 100 employees, they form a separate MSME, separate company, and then try to mitigate the problem. So the same product is being manufactured by 2 entities within the same family. So the next problem is lack of interagency cooperation. There are so many ministries involved in this. It is not one ministry. Because of the interministerial coordination, problem of interministerial coordination, there are so many problems that are being cropped up, that those issues also have been addressed. And inadequate ease of doing business. There is a strong need for single window clearance facility in this regard, one district, one product. The key recommendations are, we have suggested that there should be an empowered group of secretaries. EGS. So, who should deal with the various ministries and then address the problems that are being faced by the entrepreneurs. And there is an untapped, unexplored market, particularly Latin America and Africa. So, those untapped markets should be explored, and then export should be made to those countries. And then digital geo mapping. So, because there are so many districts, and for each district and each product, and the district where the products are manufactured, there has to be geo mapping. So that will facilitate the good exports. And then training and capacity building programs should be customized. So because it's the districts where products can be easily manufactured would be identified, and it is because it's a customized. So the appropriate training and capacity building should also be created. And then strengthening of public-private partnership. So that is another area where we have made appropriate recommendations. Then financial institutions and cooperative banks, there has to be a dedicated portal, and they should support these MSMEs and then institutions. And strengthening of infrastructure, digital infrastructure is very important. And partnership opportunities with major e-commerce companies. So like Amazon and other companies, there has to be a partnership. And accreditation of the certain bodies, some problems are being faced by the industry. Once the product is exported, non-tariff barriers particularly. After the product is exported, there in the other country, it is a non-tariff barrier. They test the product and then reject it for the simple reason that it is not up to the quality. So there has to be an accredited body, certifying bodies as per the international standards should be set up. And then northeastern region is the region where the floriculture can be developed. So recommendations have been made in this regard. There are 773 districts in the country. Only 733 districts have been identified and covered under this scheme. We want these remaining districts also to be covered under this scheme. See, this is one report that has been submitted. And second report is the tea industry, Darjeeling tea industry. There are two major elements here. One is the substandard tea which is being produced in the neighboring countries, particularly Nepal, that is brought to West Bengal and branded as Darjeeling tea and then being exported. So because of this, Darjeeling tea is considered to be #1 quality tea in the world, and it fetches the maximum price, #1 price. So in the name of this Darjeeling tea, the other products are being exported. So this has to be curtailed. And then subsidies. The subsidies which the tea producers are entitled, they are not being paid for this several years. So we have recommended that they should be paid immediately. Next, the Minimum Wages Act, which is applicable throughout West Bengal for all the sectors, but it is not applicable for tea industry workers. So we have recommended that it should be Minimum Wages Act should be applicable even for the tea industry workers also. The last point, which is very important point, is land rights. See, when Britishers have left the country, all the tea estates have been handed over to West Bengal government. But West Bengal government from time to time give the estates on lease to various leaseholders. The workers who have been staying there, they are staying there for the last 5-6 generations. And even today, they continue to be the workers. Even though they have been staying for several years, several decades, they are yet to get any rights. For the families which are staying there, our recommendation is that they should be granted Parja Pattas. That is, of course, a state subject which we have recommended, and that is so far as tea is concerned. And women workers, because tea industry, there are majority of the workers are women workers. So adequate facilities, Anganwadi Kendras, Ayush Health, Wellness Centers, Skill Development Centers, proper educational facilities should be provided to women employees. And lastly, the Tea Act, which has been enacted in 1953, should be repealed and replaced with the new act, bringing appropriate modifications, and it should be enacted afresh. These are all the recommendations. And the last report is e-commerce.
Yes.
On e-commerce, the objective of the Honorable Prime Minister is to make the economy as 5 billion economy, 5 trillion economy. So the e-commerce will play a predominant role in this. So as of now, in 2020, e-commerce market is only $46.2 billion. It is expected to grow by 2026 to 200 billion. And in order to achieve the objective of the Prime Minister, it is imperative on our part to give maximum support and encourage e-commerce. So there are various problems that are identified and concerns that have been identified for different sectors, manufacturers and sellers, the problems that are being faced by the manufacturers, sellers, problems that are being faced by customers, problems that are faced by e-commerce platform, and problems of delivery personnel, and then also the government, what the government has to do in this regard. We have made appropriate recommendations. Mandatory registration is one. All the e-commerce companies with DPIIT should be mandatorily registered to streamline the regulation of e-commerce. That is one recommendation. Then work out a comprehensive framework that regulates the e-commerce, including national e-commerce policy, which is pending since 2019. For the reasons not known, since 2019, the draft policy is pending and it is yet to be finalized by the Government of India. So we have recommended that Government of India should finalize it immediately. And also the draft competition amendment bill. At present, Amazon and Flipkart are the companies which are controlling the majority of the 80% of the e-commerce market. To prevent the monopoly of these companies, a draft competition amendment bill of 2020 should be enacted immediately without any delay is our recommendation. This is to prohibit the e-market giants from engaging in anti-competitive transactions. And another thing is draft e-pharmacy rules. See, pharmaceutical products till now they are not marketed through e-commerce platform. So there have to be Government of India should frame a draft e-pharmacy rules, and the medicines also should be dealt with and sold through e-commerce is our recommendation. And the internet connectivity is one. To promote the e-commerce market, entire country should be connected through internet, and it has to be strengthened. And then the personal data protection, because we will be giving our data to the e-commerce platform. So the Data Protection Bill 2019 is to be finalized, and enactment of Data Protection Bill is to be strengthened. And then requirement of national, because it's a digital platform, there is a possibility of cyber crime increasing in the country. So therefore, the requirement of national cyber crime policy or legislation should be done by Government of India instantaneously without any delay. And periodic cyber security is another important. Cyber security audit. Unless the cyber security audit is undertaken, it is very difficult for to prevent the crime in this in e-commerce platform. Then counterfeit products is a major problem that is being faced. So the genuine manufacturers are to be compensated, and the appropriate penalties and fine is to be collected from the counterfeit products manufacturers, and they are to be, and genuine manufacturers are to be protected. Right. And then there is another problem with GST. Those manufacturers whose turnover is less than 40 lakhs in the case of sale of goods, and turnover of less than 20 lakhs in case of provision of services are exempted from GST regulations. And we want this to be implemented throughout the country, but the Secretary of the Department, Finance Ministry, says that it is not possible because because of the interstate sale. And that is, of course, we have made a recommendation. Infrastructure related to e-commerce and providing adequate budgetary allocation, because unless there is an adequate budgetary allocation by the Finance Ministry, it is not possible to achieve the targets of targets of 5 trillion economy as envisioned by the Honorable Prime Minister. And the last recommendation what we have made is like special economic zones. There has to be e-commerce export zones on the same lines. The advantage of e-commerce export zone is one-stop shop for storage, certification, testing, customs clearance, and expedited processing of export incentives and input tax credits and refunds is possible with the setting up of e-commerce export zones. So these are all the recommendations what we have made.
Right, Mr. Reddy, thank you so much for taking us through those key observations and recommendations, and thank you so much for speaking to Sansad Television. Reporting with camera person Yogesh Agarwal, I'm Kriti Mishra for Sansad TV.